Chapter 22. Winks and Pixie Are Silly. The wishing chair seemed tired with all of its adventures. It stood in its place for 10 whole days and did not grow its wings. "We've only got a week and 2 days left before we go back to school," said Molly, who was a bit worried. "I do hope we have another adventure before we have to say goodbye to you, Pixie. Where is Winks?" "I don't know. He was here last night looking very mysterious," said Pixie. "You know, the way he looks when he's up to some sort of mischief. I just hope he won't get into any trouble." "Do you know he lost my doll's gloves in the last adventure? He says he dropped them into the sea," said Molly. "And now his hands show up again and they're that awful blue color." "I know, the things he loses," said Pixie. "He came in without his shoes the other day and said he'd lost them, and I said, 'Well, where did you take them off, Winks?' And he said that he had lost them without even taking them off. How could anyone do that?" "Shh, here he is," said Molly. "Oh, Winks, Winks, your hands aren't blue anymore. They're the right color. How did you manage that?" "Ha," said Winks, "I've got a secret." "What is it?" said Pixie at once. "Well, it won't be a secret if I tell it," said Winks most annoyingly. "Have you been to see Mr. Spells?" said Molly. "No, I went to go and see Witch Wendell," said Winks. "I borrowed her wand. It's got very good magic in it." "Do you mean to say that old Witch Wendell lent you her wand?" said Pixie disbelievingly. "Why, it was only last week that you told me that you put her chimney pot upside down so her smoke blew down back into her kitchen. I don't believe you." "All right, then, but here's the wand, see," said Winks, and suddenly he produced the wand from under his coat. It was a small, neat wand, not long and slender like Pixie's. He waved it about. Molly and Peter stared in surprise, and Pixie jumped up in alarm. "Winks, you took it without asking?" "I know you did. Witch Wendell would never lend her wand to you, and look, it's absolutely full of magic." And so it was. All wands glitter and shine and gleam and shimmer when they're full of magic, and this one was quite dazzling. "I just borrowed it for a little while," said Winks. "The witch has gone to call on her sister. She won't miss it. I'll take it back soon. I wished my hands the right color again. Wasn't I pleased when they came out all right?" "Oh, you are a very naughty brownie," said Pixie. "You ought to go back to Mr. Grimm's school. I have a good mind to take you back myself." "Oh, don't talk to me like that, or I shall lose my temper," said Winks crossly, and he poked the wand at Pixie. "Stop it," said Pixie. "You should never poke people with wands. Surely you know that. And let me tell you this, I shall talk to you how I like. You take that wand back to Witch Wendell at once." "I don't like you, Pixie," said Winks, looking suddenly cross. "I shall wish for a Maggle-Mig to chase you." He waved his wand in the air, and goodness gracious, whatever was this extraordinary creature running in at the door? It was rather like a small giraffe, but it had feathers, and it wore shoes on its 4 feet. It galloped around the room after Pixie. The children fled to a cupboard. Why, if this was a Maggle-Mig, they didn't like it. Winks sat down on the sofa and roared with laughter. Pixie was furious. He rushed to the toy cupboard and felt about for his wand, and he waved it in the air. "Maggle-Mig, change to a snickeroo and chase Winks," he cried. And at once the little giraffe-like creature changed to a thing like a small crocodile with horns. It ran at Winks, who leapt off the sofa in a hurry. Winks waved his wand at the snickeroo, and it ran into the fireplace and completely vanished. Winks pointed the wand at Pixie. "Horrid Pixie, grow a long nose." And poor Pixie did. It was such a long nose that he almost fell over with the weight of it. Pixie took a hold of it and pulled it. Winks took a hold of it and pulled it. Pixie hit out at Winks with his own wand. "Grow a tail," he yelled, and hey presto, Winks grew a tail, one like a cow with a tuft at the end, and it swung to and fro, and Winks looked down at it in alarm. He tried to run away from the swinging tail, but you know you can't leave a tail that's growing on you, of course, and so the tail followed him, swinging to and fro. "Ha ha!" said Pixie. "We have a brownie with a tail." Winks was crying now. He picked up his wand, which he had dropped. He and Pixie hit out at each other at the exact same moment. "I'll change you into a puff of smoke," shouted Winks. "I'll change you into a horrid smell," cried Pixie. And then they both disappeared. Molly and Peter stared in the utmost dismay. A little puff of green smoke blew across the room and disappeared out the door, and a horrid smell drifted about in the room for a few moments. And then that went too. Molly burst into tears. "Look what's happened," she cried. "We've lost both Pixie and Winks." Peter saw that the two wands were on the floor. He picked up Pixie's and put it in the toy cupboard. Then he picked up the one Winks had taken from Witch Wendell's and looked at it. Molly gave a cry. "Don't meddle with it, Peter, don't." "I'm not going to," said Peter. "I'm just wondering what to do about all of this. It's very serious. I think we ought to take the wand back to Witch Wendell." "Well, let's take it back quickly then," said Molly. "Perhaps if we do, she'll tell us what to do about Pixie and Winks. How shall we find the way?" "We might ask Mr. Spells," began Peter, and then suddenly he stopped in delight and pointed behind Molly, and she turned and saw that the wishing chair was growing its wings again. The buds on its 4 legs burst into feathers, and soon the big green and yellow wings were waving gently in the air. "What a bit of luck!" cried Molly. "Now we can get in the wishing chair and just tell it to go to Witch Wendell's." Peter sat in the chair and pulled Molly down beside him. He had the witch's wand in his hand. "Wishing chair, we want to go to Witch Wendell's," he said. "Go at once." The chair rose into the air and made for the door. Out it went and up into the cloudy sky. It made for an opening in the clouds and shot through it. Now the children were in the sunshine above. They flew for a long way, and then Molly shouted in surprise and pointed. "Look! What's that?" "It's a castle in the clouds," and both children stared. It was a very surprising sight indeed. A big purple cloud loomed ahead, thick and gloomy. Set in its depths was what looked exactly like a castle, with towers and turrets. The chair flew straight to the cloud and stopped. It hovered just above the cloud, and the children couldn't get down. "Go lower, chair," said Peter, but the chair didn't. A head popped out of a window in the castle. "Wait, I'll get you cloud shoes. If you walk on the cloud without them, you'll fall." The head disappeared, and then out of the castle came Witch Wendell, a bright star glinting at the top of her pointed hat. She carried what looked like snowshoes, big flat things to fasten to their feet. "Here you are," she said. "Put these on your feet and you'll be able to walk easily on the clouds. That's why your wishing chair wouldn't land. It knew that it would be dangerous for you without the cloud shoes." "Oh, thank you," said Molly. She liked Witch Wendell very much, because her face smiled and her eyes twinkled. The children put on the cloud shoes and then stepped down on the cloud. They could get along quite well now. It felt rather as if they were sliding on very, very soft snow. "What a strange home you have, set high in the clouds," said Peter. "Oh, people often build these things," said the witch. "Have you never heard of people building castles in the air? Well, this is one of them. They don't last for very long, but they are very comfortable. I've had this one for about 2 months now." She led the way to her curious castle. We've come to bring you your wand," said Peter. "I must tell you all that has happened." And so he did, and the witch listened in silence. "Oh, that tiresome Winks," she said. "He should never have left Mr. Grimm's school." "What can we do about Pixie and Winks?" said Molly, "now that they are a puff of smoke and a horrid smell? Where have they gone?" "They've gone to the land of spells," said the witch. "We'll have to get your wishing chair to go there. Come along." And when we read again together, it will be chapter 23, What Happened in the Land of Spells.